Phil, when we talk about development, especially development of other individuals, you have a really good mindset or framework that you've coined really in the last couple of years that I think is so helpful for people to understand maybe a little bit of that dynamic of development. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's really two parts of leadership, and we've talked about this. And as a leader, I'm really an archaeologist. So I need to, what do archaeologists do? If you think about it, they're seeking they're trying to unearth what's in the ground. They're looking for what's present, if you will, and what's been put inside. I convert it to what's been put inside. What did God put inside of you? What are your experiences? So an archaeologist is looking to mine those things and understand them. And then a architect is somebody that builds structure and a plan and makes those things have a place and be useful and have experiences that are productive and people can collaborate. So archaeologist is to unearth those things that are inside of you, and then just unearthing them, studying them, and understanding who you are doesn't develop you. It's having to also be an architect and say, what am I going to design that would help you become better at those things, give you and my team a place and space for those things to happen, and a plan and a timeline of how we progress. So it's really a combination of those two things. And you kind of toggle back and forth, during your experience, whether it be day to day, week to week, or year to year. In those experiences, there might be seasons where you're much more of a archaeologist. If you're doing a startup, or you're starting a new department, or a new solution, or a new way to reach people, you're going to do a lot of archaeology and less architecture. Once you uncover what you really think the big idea is, then you have to build a structure, a timeline. So there's that, that, if you will, art and science of how we lead.
Yeah, I like that you're even applying this principle to a new department, or to a new initiative, or to some sort of solution that you're creating. But Greg, talk to us a little bit about how it could also be applied to the individual level, this concept of archaeology and architecture.
Yeah, I think when I'm beginning a process of leading someone, the first thing I want to do is, as quickly as possible, really understand who this person is. How are they built? How did God put them together? What are the great things, the brilliance that's within them? What are the challenges or the limitations that they may have? And honestly, as a leader, I want to look at every person God has entrusted me with this mindset that God has already put something beautiful and amazing and spectacular in there somewhere, and they probably haven't found it yet. And God put me in their life to help them bring it out. Wow. If I can view my mission as a leader that way, not only is that person going to feel just so invested in and so seen, but it's also going to help us. Yeah. Because the better they become, the better version of themselves they become, the more it's going to serve whatever the mission is that we're after together. Yeah. So that's where I'm starting. And then when it comes from kind of architecting, their development and their experience, there's some things that are always going to be common depending on what we're a part of. Our culture is going to be common to everybody who is on this team or in this church. But then there's also some things that are going to need to be custom based on what we found in this kind of archaeology stage. Right. I can't treat everyone's development as the same cut and paste process. Right. There will be some common things, but the best development is going to be the kind that, number one, is designed to bring something out of them rather than just add something to them, but also is specifically tailored to who that person is.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that it's a combination of custom and common. What do we all have to work on and be developed, and what's uniquely them? Okay, you just talked about something that's, I think, really, really heavy, is the fact that I have to learn an individual and actually pursue them. I mean, archaeology is not a passive process. It's digging, and it's brushing things away. It's clearing things off. You actually have to pursue the individual that you're leading, and then neither is architecture. Is you've got to design something and build something and overlay framework to it. And this all can be very daunting. Maybe talk, Phil, about the number of people, the capacity that you have potentially to do this with. I mean, it's not going to be 10, it's not going to be 12. It's how does this intersect with how I'm structured or how my team's designed?
Yeah. I mean, I think when we talk about one-on-one development, it's like a span of care, or it's a, it can't be infinite and it can't be large groups. Certainly development happens at a large scale. You can develop groups of people, but there also has to be one-on-one. And I think in that environment, really a small handful of people is all you can really develop well one-on-one. So, and we all have different personal capacities. So it might be 3 or 4 people. It might be 6 or 7 or 8 people, but probably not much more than kind of the common rules of span of control when you talk about leadership structures. Right. It's usually, if you're up to the 7 or 8 mark, you're probably, unless you're just a freak of nature, it's probably, it's like kids. Like if you have 25 kids, you probably couldn't, give them all what they need. Right. There might be one person on the earth that could, but most of us are designed for 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I think those are the general rules of, kind of how we're built and wired.
Yeah, the cool part about that too is that somebody that I started investing in 5 years ago is going to be much further along than somebody I just maybe got onto my team a year ago. And so I could kind of distribute even some of that time and attention to, because we've built trust and we have a development plan and I've seen great successes, but you might be new to the team and you got to learn my paradigm and I've got to understand how you're wired. And so that also can go in the mix. But I think the biggest thing that we hear is create your structure and your scope of development in such a way that development, I say this a lot of times, is the first casualty of going really, really wide with your direct reports. You just can't effectively develop leaders beyond those that you can invest at that level, that depth.
Yep.
So.